Lazy Dude 99 could not be here, as he is on the run from a homicidal clown. However, he has left this video for your enjoyment. Enjoy. Hello everyone, welcome to another Lazy Dude 99 review. Story about the location. I'm hiding in some kid's tree fort, and hopefully they never use it so nobody will be looking for me here. Anyway, so enough about that. How about we talk about the movie I saw? Mission Impossible Rogue Nation, otherwise known as Mission Impossible 5, because it's the fifth in the franchise starring Tom Cruise. And, oh boy, what do I have to say about this movie? Well, the basic story about Rogue Nation is how, once again, the IMF is being disbanded. What is this, like the fifth or fourth time? I think it's which is a rogue organization that nobody seems to know of. They're just a mysterious organization. He is like the only one that knows that they're real, but he doesn't have proof, so they're killing people, world leaders, you know, all that sort of thing. And yet, while this is happening, the IMF is being disbanded because the head of the CIA, played by Alec Baldwin, thinks that they're a reckless group that is not necessary in today's world. So let me just say, for the Mission Impossible franchise, it's very interesting because this is a franchise that some people would think should have died by now. I mean, when you think about it, when most films reach their fifth in the franchise, it's usually something like Saw or something dumb, that like Saw, where it's just a movie that's not even trying, that knows it has a certain fan base for its style, and just goes in with the bare minimum and just throws more stuff up that they got famous for in the first one. While that could kind of technically be true for this movie, it's not lazy in that way. Sure, there is remarkable heists that seem to be absolutely impossible. Sure, there are things that go, there's a mystery, just like in the first one. There's a character where you're like, who can I trust them, can I not, sort of thing. There's all that stuff there. There's an evil villain with a plan that could cripple the world, sort of thing. All that is there. That has been in there in other movies too, but it's not lazy because they go about it in a different way, and their characters are still strong. They're very well done. They're great characters. The action sequences are fantastic, and overall, this is a really good action flick. Amazing, maybe not amazing. Like, I wouldn't say it's like one of the best ever made or anything, but I would say very good. Thumbs up all around for this film. We got Tom Cruise, and this guy, I mean, I don't care what anybody says about his Scientology or whatever like that. This guy is probably the best action star ever. Ever. I mean, can you really tell me an action star that is better than Tom Cruise? The only thing I can hear someone might say is Harrison Ford, but Harrison Ford wasn't in that many action movies. He was in adventure movies, science fiction movies, but for straight up action, I would say it's between Tom Cruise and Bruce Willis, and I really think Tom Cruise is way ahead of Bruce Willis in terms of action movies. Now, when it comes down to it, he's awesome at it, you know? He plays this character that has the drive and the will to do impossible things. And that is something that I find so interesting. And the character is pushed to his limits in this film. You got in other films where he feels like, oh, Ethan Hunt's in control, he knows what's going on, everything. And here, he's really seen as the person who is not in control of everything. The person that is, finally, he's lost control of everything, and he's barely trying to hang on. You got this whole mystery of this girl, and he doesn't, it's a mystery. Can he trust her? Can he not trust her? Is she working as a spy against the syndicate, or is she working for the syndicate, trying to turn Hunt against it? It's a whole thing, and she is really good. We got Simon Pegg in this movie, and of course he is awesome. He's hilarious. His character Benji is a great one. Vin Rhames is in this movie, which I only see this guy in Mission Impossible films. Like, Can anyone tell me a movie that this guy has been in the last, 2 years that wasn't a Mission Impossible movie? If you can, write in the comments below without looking it up, because I know actors do act and I don't always see them. But I mean, like a movie that was semi-famous that didn't. Anyway, he's great. I love this character. This type of character is always interesting to me because, when you hear the IMF, the Impossible Mission Force, it's supposed to be a group of unstoppable, fit characters and people that are like can do anything, can do no wrong. They have the looks, they have the physique and everything, and he's just a big, burly, a little overweight guy, and yet the stuff he does is very impressive. I've actually liked him more in this film than I have in the past couple of the other movies. He feels like, well, he's just there because he's there and he doesn't need to be there. And he has a lot of good moments where he says stuff to, like the stuff that he's talking when he's talking to Jeremy Renner's character. We got a lot of stuff like that where he's doing well. And speaking of Jeremy Renner's character, he's given a whole lot more to do. And I like that he is, he's given more to do. We got him, kind of having to play against the CIA and Hunt, and he's in an interesting position. And then we got the girl whose name I forgot, and she's good too. The villain in this movie is actually very interesting because they do one part of him very well and one part of him not so well. The part of him that they do extremely well is the threat. You feel like this guy has major, a backing. He is a threat. He is someone that could topple the world security sort of thing. This is a guy who has been, in a position of power, and Ethan Hunt always seems to be one step behind him. So he is menacing, he is threatening. The one thing that they fall short on him is charisma. He's not a charismatic villain, and doesn't necessarily need to be. I'm not saying he's bad because he's not charismatic, but in the end, he's kind of a little forgetful because all he does is stare, and he has a little bit of a voice like this. I don't know why he's doing a voice like this. Let me just say, if you put his character up against the character in Skyfall, Javier Bardem's character, where that character is maybe less. Then I would say, you know what I mean. He's like, he's more charismatic. You're like enjoy listening to him. He's not an enjoyable villain. He's a menacing villain, but he's not a villain that I say, oh man, relishing where you relish in how evil they are. Or you're like, oh man, that's so evil, it's so cool, sort of thing. He's just a villain where he's like, okay, here's the big threat that they need to face, and they do that well. It's just I would like them to be a little bit more memorable, but they could have gone too far. They could have gone like in Mission Impossible, where he's so cheesy and so over the top, it's just laughable. Or in Mission Impossible 2, that type of villain. So I'm glad what they did with him, because he was menacing, he was good, he did have a whole lot of stuff, and the way Hunt beats him in the end is very creative. I didn't see it coming. It wasn't one of those things where I called it. It wasn't one of those things. It wasn't a great villain, it was a good one. Let's talk about the action scene. Now, when I saw the trailers for this movie, I'm like, oh, they're giving away their big moment right in the beginning with him, hanging on to this plane. And the fact that that is real blows my mind. The fact that Tom Cruise is actually out there holding on to a plane. I'm like, did nobody think he could die from that? The pressure of hanging on to the outside of a plane? Did nobody think that's possible, that somebody could die from that? But then again, Tom Cruise always does big stunts like that in his movies, and he's just nuts. The fact that he does, and he did that, I'm like, oh, they're giving it away. But no, that scene is very early in the movie, and there's a lot of other scenes that I wasn't seeing coming where he does step up the game. I will say in the end, there are a couple of things that this movie does that other movies in the franchise have done better. I'll get to that in the spoiler part of the review because I don't want to give stuff like that away. But this movie does build up on the stuff that it has done in Ghost Protocol with, the locations, the humor, the action sequences. They're all there, and the heists and the stunts and the blah blah blah. All that is there and is really good. I don't really have a whole lot more else to say except in the spoiler part of the review, which you know what? I'm okay with. This movie is not much a whole lot to say. It is a good action flick. Very good, very entertaining, very well done. The action is suspenseful, and the characters are likable. The villain, while menacing, may not be the most charismatic villain, but he's still a menacing villain. That's the main quality you want to have in your villains. So in the end, I'm giving Mission Impossible Rogue Nation a 7.5 out of 10. It's a very good film. I liked it a whole lot. I thought it was a whole lot of fun. It is a movie that, would I say it's better than Ghost Protocol? I'd say that yes, mostly because of the villain is better in this movie than it was in Ghost Protocol. I'd say that the characters are about even on every other, since a lot of them are the same, but on every other facet of Ghost Protocol, the characters are about even. Be sure to check out more of my other videos on my channel. But the one thing is, Ghost Protocol's villain sucked. I mean, the plot was fine, but the villain sucked. And here, he's at very least menacing, he's memorable, and that's great. So I would say it's better than Ghost Protocol. Would I say it's better than... I think that, surprisingly, 1 and 3 are the best out of this series. Because Mission Impossible 3... has Philip Seymour Hoffman's villain, which is, out of all of them, probably the best. Out of all the villains, Philip Seymour Hoffman's character is probably the best. But I don't want to go on to which is the best out of the whole IMF franchise, Mission Impossible franchise, not IMF franchise, the whole Mission Impossible franchise. I don't need to go into that. All I need to say is this is a good movie. If you want to see a good, fun action flick, this is definitely one worth checking out. Okay, time to get into the spoilers part of this review. If you haven't seen this movie, I strongly urge that you do so before watching the rest of this review. And go. Okay, so the one thing that I will say this movie doesn't do well is the fact that we can tell by the moment we see this other girl that she's going to be a good guy. Even though she's working with the villain. Is she working with the villain? Is she not working with the villain? Blah, 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 blah. We can tell by the first moments that she's going to be a good guy in the end. I mean, you think, well, yeah, but is that really that big of a deal? And I'm like, look, we had a character that we didn't know where they stood in the first Mission Impossible film. A girl character. And it was like, well, maybe she's a bad guy. Maybe, no, she's not. She's not. She's going to be a good girl. Turned out she was working with the bad guy. And it wasn't one of those, haha, I've been working with the bad guy the whole time sort of thing. She was, actually sad that she had to do what she had to do, and she doesn't want to betray Ethan, but she feels she has no other choice. At least as I remember it. So it was a little bit more of the, ooh, is she not? And when she was, it was kind of a shock, actually, because you were like, no. And here I'm like, no, she's a good girl. They're doing all these things to mislead you to think that, oh, she's a bad girl. But no, because Hunt trusts her. As soon as you hear that, oh, Hunt trusts her, well, obviously they're not going to make him an idiot by have him trusting the wrong person, so she's going to be a good girl. And that's the way the movie's going to end. And I guess in the end, the whole movie isn't a mystery surrounding that. I'm just saying they've done it better in the franchise before, where you were really more like, is she not? Is she not? Sort of thing. And I think that was better in the first Mission Impossible movie. But beyond that, I would say that... What else do I need to talk about? It's kind of funny how, when they have this, like, okay, you have to go into this whole security facility and blah, 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 blah. And also you need to do this, blah, 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 blah. And, there's all this that they are talking about. And then, boom, they just, like, kidnap the Prime Minister of Great Britain in, like, no time flat. Like, there's all this preparation to go into this facility to steal this data. There's all of this preparation to go into this opera where Vienna is. And then it's just like, okay, we're going to kidnap the Prime Minister. And they're just like, okay, you got a plan? Yeah. Okay. Blah. And that was it. It's funny. I find that a little amusing that in this movie's eyes, I almost wonder if that's like a slam against the, people who's like, James Bond is better than Ethan Hunt. Is like, oh yeah, well, Ethan Hunt could take down the Prime Minister in no time flat. How do you like them apples? I actually had that kind of feeling, you got this British agent who is leading the syndicate. I'm like, is this kind of a challenge to James Bond in a way? Whether it is, I don't know. It's an interesting theory. I wish that Death Battle, Screwtek's Death Battle, would do a James Bond versus Ethan Hunt, because that would be really interesting. Anyway, I think that's all I have to say. I better leave this yard before somebody comes over. I'm LaserDude99, and I'm on the run, and hopefully I can keep going like Ethan Hunt. Adios. Be sure to check out more of my other videos on my channel. And wait for more coming soon. By the way, that one scene where they think they're tracking him down and they're in Morocco or something, and then they bust through the doors and he's in Paris. It's just beautiful. I love that. That was hilarious. Okay, bye.